Good evening. Welcome to Election Night 2028. Tonight we have VP J.D. Vance with his running mate Secretary of State Tulsi Gabbard for the Republicans against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his running mate Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs for the Democrats. The polls have closed in 6 states. It is 7 p.m. Eastern, and J.D. Vance wins in Kentucky, Indiana, and South Carolina. We can project right at poll closing time. Meanwhile, Tim Walz wins in Vermont with 3 electoral votes, and 29 electoral votes undecided in Georgia and Virginia. They're either too close or too early to call. The electoral map is on your screen now. 28 for Vance, 3 for Walz. Poll closings at 7:30 p.m. Eastern in 3 states. J.D. Vance wins West Virginia and now his home state of Ohio as well. We can also call right at poll closing time. For a total of 28 electoral votes. North Carolina, on the other hand, is too close to call. Electoral maps on your screen. 49 for Vance, 3 for Walz. And it's now 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and the polls have closed in a bunch of more states. J.D. Vance, we can project, wins Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, and right away at poll closing time we can now project Florida. And Maine, 2nd Congressional District for Vance. Florida continues its rightward trend. Vance is projected to win by at least 15 to 20 points, which is more than Trump's 13 points even. And he's also projected to improve on, well, not improve on, no, but he's projected to regress a bit in the 2nd District, but nonetheless, that's a solid performance. Meanwhile, Tim Walz, we can project victories in Maryland, Delaware, Connecticut, Massachusetts, D.C., Rhode Island, and the 1st District of Maine. Meanwhile, many states which before, in previous election cycles, we were able to project safely, such as Illinois, is now too close to call. Pennsylvania, obviously too close to call, that's usual. New Jersey is too close to call, or too early to call. New Hampshire and Maine, obviously, those are a lot closer, usually, so no surprise there. Too early to call. Electoral map is on your screen now. 123 for Vance, 42 for Walz, 103 undecided, including previously solid blue states like Illinois and New Jersey, that we saw them get ridiculously close in 2024. And as a result, we are not able to call the states at poll closing time anymore. Poll closing is 8:30 p.m. in Arkansas, and Arkansas is projected to go to J.D. Vance. And now it is 9 p.m. Eastern, and the biggest batch of poll closings of the night. J.D. Vance is projected to win Louisiana, and even Texas we can call it poll closing time. It was previously a very blue trending state until 2024 when it turned a corner and went the other way. So we can once again call Texas at poll closing time, and is now a safe red state once again. Kansas, 15 to 17 points. Nebraska, 4 to 5 electoral votes. North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, no surprise there. Meanwhile, Tim Walz wins Colorado. We can project at poll closing time. Is projected to go by 15 to 20 points, continuing his blue shift. He's projected to win his home state of Minnesota by 6 to 8 due to his home state advantage. And Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District we can also call right at poll closing time. J.D. Vance, just like his predecessor, did not contest this district, and it looks like he was smart to, because it's continuing its blue shift, and it's going solidly blue. It's just gone for the Republicans at this point. I think he figured it out. And meanwhile, undecided, Arizona, no surprise there. New Mexico, no surprise there. Wisconsin, Michigan, no surprise there. New York, yes, another state previously solid blue but trended heavily red last cycle, and it's continuing. Well, who knows? We'll see if it will continue to do so, but it is definitely definitely close enough or that we cannot call at poll closing time. The electoral map's on your screen now. 196 for Vance, 63 for Walz, and 172 undecided. So, wow, just look at... Trump really altered the electoral map. Just the amount of safe states that Republicans have this early in the cycle. I mean, in the night. And, before it would usually be Democrats would usually have a solid lead with the electoral count in like the safe states. Amount of safe states they have. 10 p.m. Eastern, and Iowa. 4 states have closed their polls. J.D. Vance wins Iowa. We can call it right at poll closing time now. It's become this solidly red. Montana and Utah, no surprise there. Nevada, too close to call. No surprise there. Electoral maps on your screen. 212 for Republicans, just 63 for Democrats. And now is 11 p.m. Eastern, and polls will close in 5 states. West Coast, Tim Walz wins California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, no surprise there. J.D. Vance wins Idaho, and electoral map. Democrats only partially catching up. 141 electoral votes this late in the night, compared to Republicans' 216. And it is now 1 o'clock a.m. Alaska goes to J.D. Vance. And, we can call our first undecided state of the night. Tim Walz wins in Illinois. He is projected to win by slightly less than Harris won, than his predecessor. Illinois is continuing its slight rightward shift. New York as well, we can project, and wow, and it is only Democrat by 5 to 9 points, so it is getting redder from last cycle. Virginia, 5 to 8, slightly bluer. It did shift last cycle, like a lot to the right, but only because the nation shifted to the right by roughly the same amount. So it didn't really trend that heavily. It didn't really trend red. So you're seeing a bit of reversion with that on behalf of the national environment being projected to shift left. New Mexico as well, about 5 to 8 points, which is slightly better than last time. New Hampshire, way better than last time. It swung heavily against the incumbent, probably as a backlash to 4 years of the Trump presidency. This is going Dem by 8 to 10. A little more than usual, probably because of the Boston transplants. Electoral map is on your screen, and Democrats are finally catching up in the electoral vote. 210 for Dems, 219 for Republicans. 109 votes yet to be decided. It is now 3 a.m. on the following day, and we can call our first swing state. This is Wisconsin, neighboring state to Minnesota. Tim Walz wins Wisconsin, Democrat, by 1 to 2 points. We saw some surprising results last cycle, where Wisconsin, despite being what's normally the heaviest red trending, and it was usually not always the most conservative, but in the Trump era, it was the most favorable to Republicans in the Rust Belt. But last cycle, it was actually Trump's weakest swing state, and it was the least favorable to Republicans in the Rust Belt. And now it's projecting to go to Tim Walz by 1 to 2. Some of this may be cross-border appeal. Meanwhile, Georgia also goes to Tim Walz, another swing state. Keylor alert. This goes down by 1 to 3 points. Meanwhile, North Carolina goes to J.D. Vance. He's projected to win it by anywhere from a tilt margin to 2 points. And the electoral map is on your screen now. And look at how close the electoral count is. 236 to Dems, 235 to Republicans. State projections. It is now noon, November 6th, and Michigan is also won by Tim Walz. Projected margin is Dem plus 0.5 to 1.5, so a little redder than Wisconsin, just like we saw last cycle. And we'll have to see where Pennsylvania lies with all of this. Like, will it continue to have that same layout that we're seeing post 2024 with, Wisconsin being the bluest and Pennsylvania being the reddest and Michigan actually being in between, versus the old, cycle where, Wisconsin's the reddest, Pennsylvania is in between, Michigan's the bluest. Who knows? Time will tell. And New Jersey as well. It's if you had told somebody in 2012 that you wouldn't be able to, in 2016 you wouldn't be able to call New Jersey until the other swing states, they'd probably laugh at you. But yeah, but here we are. New Jersey, a swing state in the cycle, and it's even more red than last cycle where it went blue by 5. Now it's only going blue by 2 to 4. It continues its redward trend slightly. And yes, we have had to wait this long to call New Jersey. We can finally call it. And the electoral map is on your screen now. 265 for Tim Walz, 235 for J.D. Vance. And Tim Walz just needs one more state to win, even Nevada. Except for Maine. He can't win. Maine wouldn't get him over the top, but we'll see how he fares. And it is now 5 p.m. and we're about to make a major projection. Tim Walz wins Pennsylvania. He's only going to win it by a tilt margin. And we are again seeing that, yes, the configuration that had with the Rust Belt trio post-2024, where Pennsylvania is actually the reddest. And Pennsylvania puts Tim Walz over the top, but only by the skin of his teeth. If he had lost Pennsylvania, who knows where, then he would not be here right now. But, and then we can thus project that Tim Walz has been elected the 48th president of the United States. He will succeed Donald Trump, and yes, Katie Hobbs will be his vice president. She is the second vice president who's a woman, but she's not a woman of color. She's white. Yeah. An electoral map is on the screen now. Tim Walz has won 284, and he has secured the presidency. J.D. Vance has called to concede, and while vowing to mount another electoral fight in 2032. Meanwhile, let's see how the other states go. And it is now January 30, 2198. Yes, no joke. It has taken this long to count the polls because we are a first world country that practices third world has third world election practices, and we can finally call Arizona for J.D. Vance. It's only projected to go to him by 3 to 5, so a little bluer than last time, but nonetheless, that's a pretty significant victory. And he also holds on narrowly to Nevada. He wins it by the skin of his teeth, but still showing signs of strength for the GOP. It was expected to swing back blue, but it did not. And meanwhile, Maine at large, we can project for Tim Walz. It is down by 9 to 11 points. And the final electoral map is on your screen. 286 for Tim Walz, and 252 for J.D. Vance. The flips are on your screen now. There are no Vance flips. There are 4 flips for Tim Walz. He's flipped Rust Belt Trio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and he has also flipped Georgia down south. And the swing states this cycle, in addition to the core 7, there's also New Jersey was added to the list of those who are within 5, and the states that are marked with the tilt designation, like New Mexico, Illinois, and New York, they're looking very likely to become swing states next cycle. And potentially Minnesota, Virginia as well, potentially New Hampshire, but perhaps a little less likely so next cycle, but eventually as well. Walz is leading in the popular vote by around 1 point. Is projected to be D+1. Democrats no longer really have a popular vote, much of a popular vote advantage, comparatively, right now, because Florida and Texas and all the big states are trending red. They actually have a higher electoral vote advantage. Like Pennsylvania, for example, it's going down by less than 1, and so it's entirely possible that Republicans could have won the electoral vote but lost the electoral college, which is a first that could never happen. And turnout is also way down. I forgot to add that Vance has around 60 million votes, and Walz only has around like 63 million votes. So, yeah, lots of people. He didn't turn out like Vance did not turn out like a lot of like the Trump, like low propensity voters. But conversely, a lot of like the TDS type of voters, like very people who would really hate Trump, also did not turn out to vote against him. Because Vance was, he was not seen as that much of a threat. So turnout, obviously, back to pre-Trump levels. And thanks for watching. I'm going to be continuing with this series. Going to make it 2032 election night for the next election cycle, and I'll maybe even make election nights with other candidates too if they're found to be significantly different, outcome-wise. Thank you so much. If you liked it, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.